You've probably seen the polished videos from nomad capitalist, wealthy expat, or offshore citizen. They work with millionaires to help them legally reduce taxes, get second residencies, even new citizenships. And they're incredibly good at what they do. But what if you're not there yet? Can you still go offshore, live abroad, retire abroad, and build your version of freedom? Yes, 100%. And today I'm going to show you how without needing a concierge service or $1 million net worth. You don't have to be rich to feel at home somewhere else. Look, there are a handful of firms in this space that are truly world-class. Andrew Henderson of Nomad Capitalist, Raphael Cintron of Wealthy Expat, Michael Rosmer of Offshore Citizen. They work with millionaires and they offer a concierge-level service that handles everything: legal, tax, citizenship strategy, international structuring, you name it. I've personally been to Nomad Capitalist Live in Kuala Lumpur. I've met Andrew Henderson's team, and let me tell you, they're the real deal. Javier Corrier, the guy's like a walking, talking, breathing library of expat law and knowledge of every country. Natalia Rincon, she brings serious strategy and legal brilliance to the table. Their minimum fee starts at $25,000, and that's just a retainer. If you're a 7 or 8 figure entrepreneur, it absolutely makes sense to hire them. You've probably built your wealth by knowing when to delegate. And this is one of those moments where delegating makes perfect sense. But what if you're not there yet? You don't have $500,000 in income or $1 million in net worth. You're not sitting on a crypto portfolio the size of a small island nation. Does that mean you can't live abroad? No, not at all. Because here's the truth, and it's kind of the whole mission behind the Americano. You don't have to be rich to feel at home somewhere else. Let's be real, most people watching this aren't millionaires. And that's okay, because I wasn't either when I started down this path 30 some years ago. But what you are is resourceful, curious, maybe even a little stubborn in the best way possible. And if that's you, you're already ahead of 90% of other people. You see, this whole idea that you need to be ultra wealthy to move abroad, reduce your taxes, or live a more meaningful life, that's not true. That's just marketing. And honestly, some of it's very good marketing. The truth is, you can absolutely build a life abroad without 6-figure retainers or a second passport in your sock drawer. It just takes a little more legwork and a little more patience. But it's doable, like really doable. What you really need is a plan, and to stop telling yourself, I can't do this because I'm not rich. Because here's the mindset shift. You're not broke. You're pretty rich. You're at the beginning of the story, not the end of it. Even if you're 60 plus years old, your story still has a lot of chapters remaining. So let's start writing that next chapter, the one where you live somewhere that makes you feel like you're at home. It maybe costs a whole lot less than the place you're in now, and maybe even has a better quality of life, healthcare, and a cool new culture to experience. You don't need to be a millionaire. You just need a little initiative and maybe a good Wi-Fi connection. Let me show you some real-world examples. Amelia and JP, they were living in Ecuador and show exactly how to make it work on a modest budget. Rent, food, healthcare. They break it all down in detail. It's like getting expat coaching for free on YouTube. And now they're slow traveling the world. Warren and Julie, they were slow traveling long before Amelia and JP were sharing their costs of living in Europe and how to do the Schengen shuffle. Then you have Josh and Kaylee from Expats Everywhere. They've lived in a ton of countries, including Spain, Saudi Arabia, and now Portugal. Their videos walk you through visas, costs of living, what's hard, what's fun, and all without hiring a pricey consultant. Then there's Dave in Portugal, super practical. He shares what daily life looks like, how to navigate the D7 visa, and how affordable Portugal really is once you know the ropes. And he sold everything in Michigan to make this move with little to no money. Then you have Gregor Brown in Italy, a cyclist turned expat sharing the beauty of Italian life and the logistics of moving there, visa quirks and all. Then there are people just like these folks who did the same, made the move, didn't have $1 million portfolio, and are now offering help at accessible prices. You have Start Abroad with Anna and Zach. They have real boots on the ground experience helping people move to Spain, Portugal, Panama, and Costa Rica with services that are tailored, personal, and way more affordable than a concierge firm. And they even have a very affordable concierge option as well. And I mean very affordable. I did a podcast episode with them that you can watch here. Then there's Expat Group in Colombia. They only do Colombia, but this is who I personally use for my visa. Their team made the process smooth, they answered every question I had, and they didn't charge me thousands to do it. Then there's Spain Guru by Bruno Bianchi. If Spain's your destination, Bruno is your guy. He doesn't offer the services himself, but he's curated a list of vetted providers and created tons of content on the topic. Trust me, if there's a visa for Spain, Bruno's got a video about it. The point is, if you want hand-holding, it exists. If you want DIY, it's possible. If you want to move abroad without breaking the bank, that door is already open. You just have to walk through it. All right, let's talk money because I know that's the part most people worry about. If you're watching videos from high-end firms, you might assume moving abroad costs tens of thousands just to get you started. But that's not the case for most countries. Let me give you some real ballpark numbers. Latin America, visa help in places like Colombia, Ecuador, or Mexico, you're looking at $300 to $1,000 if you go through a local agency or a lawyer. Want someone to walk you through every step like I did? I used Expat Group in Colombia and paid less than $1,000. Then there's Europe. You've got Spain or Portugal with a little help from someone like Start Abroad or a local attorney. You'll probably spend $1,000 to $3,000 total, including translations, document prep, application fees, and legal help. A DIY option? Well, if you're organized and willing to research everything yourself, you could cut those costs in half or more. I've seen people move to Portugal on a D7 visa for under $500 out of pocket. Then you have the ongoing costs. Residency renewals. Some countries require you to show proof of income or bank balances each year, but many are extremely reasonable. And once you're in, you'll often find healthcare, housing, and food are dramatically cheaper than the US. And yes, even in Europe, you can find food cheaper than the US. Lidl, Aldi, and other low-cost grocery stores in Europe can easily get your budget to far less than shopping at those same stores in the US. Because after all, those two stores are German grocery stores, not US grocery stores. But you'll find that groceries can still be less than the US or Canada, even at regular grocery stores. And in places like Colombia, you'll find that the costs can be ridiculously low. So no, you don't need $25,000 to start. You might only need a few $100 and some hustle. The biggest investment is your willingness to make a change. Let's shift gears for a second. If you're American and not Native American, then chances are your family came from somewhere else. Europe, Latin America, the Middle East, Asia, somewhere. My ancestors, they're from Germany, Switzerland, specifically Schaffhausen, as well as Wales, England, Scotland, and Ireland. And I'll be honest, when I'm in Switzerland, I feel something I can't explain. It's like home. Even though I didn't grow up there, it's this deep-rooted sense that this place is part of me somehow. I've always been a bit of a nomad at heart. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a car designer, and in high school, I dreamed of going to Art Center in Vevey, Switzerland for industrial transportation design. Yeah, that's the real name of the degree. Car design sounds cooler though, doesn't it? And Vevey is home to Nestle. Yum. The school eventually shut down its Switzerland campus, but that dream, it stuck with me. And maybe that's part of why I create these videos now, because I think a lot of us are chasing that feeling, not just of travel or escape, but of belonging somewhere. And here's the cool part, that sense of belonging isn't tied to your net worth. You don't have to be rich to feel at home somewhere else. Sometimes all it takes is a plane ticket and a little curiosity about where you came from. Now, just to be clear, I don't offer visa services. I'm not an immigration lawyer, and I'm not starting a second passport concierge firm. What I do offer is something even more powerful, a way to fund your new life. See, I've been running a software company since 1994. That's over 30 years of building custom software solutions, launching software as a service startups, and helping entrepreneurs turn ideas into real businesses. I wasn't rich when I started, far from it. What I had was a skill. I learned to code from my dad when I was 7, and by 1994, I was damn good at it. That skill gave me freedom. It funded my travels, got me scuba certified, got my pilot's license, and not just private, but commercial with instrument and multi-engine ratings, and own my own airplanes. And it allowed me to live life on my own terms. Today, I help other people do the same, not by pitching a course or selling a dream, but by actually building real revenue-generating software as a service businesses. And I don't do it with overpriced developers in Silicon Valley. I've built an incredible team in Colombia and Argentina, English-speaking, professional, and efficient. Where most people think you'll need $500,000 or even more to build a startup, I'm telling you, you can do it for $25,000 to $50,000. And here's the kicker. We don't just build it and leave you hanging. We can run it with you, including low-cost LATAM operations, so your business stays lean, sustainable, and profitable, even in the early days. This is what I offer. Not a shortcut, a strategy. Not a magic passport, a real engine for long-term freedom. Because money gives you options and building something gives you control. So software has really been what has allowed for me to make a fantastic living. And whether you use my services or somebody else, the concept of you having a software as a service or an app that you've developed or had developed is a way to create a new future, a future with basically ongoing income and something you can later sell. So let's say that you build a software as a service business. Where do you incorporate? Well, if you're living abroad, you don't necessarily want to base it in a high tax country like the US or Germany. Instead, you could register it in a territorial tax country like Panama, where foreign income isn't taxed locally. You can legally pay zero corporate tax on income earned outside the country. And guess what? If your clients are in the US or Europe, but your operations are offshore, that's foreign income. But here's where it gets really fun if you're an American. Do you know who Peter Thiel is? Well, he basically turned $2,000 into $5 billion tax-free. Yeah, I know, it sounds too good to be true, but it actually is, and you can Google it and see that this is real. He invested that money into PayPal before you knew what PayPal was. Just like Peter Thiel, you can also build that same software as a service business inside your retirement accounts, like a self-directed Roth Solo 401k, an IRA, even an HSA if it qualifies. That means your business growth is completely tax-free or tax-deferred, depending on the structure. And no, you don't have to figure that out on your own. I always recommend working with professionals like KKOS Lawyers. That's Mark Kohler and Matt Sorensen's team. They specialize in this stuff. We're not affiliated with them, but I respect their expertise and often refer people to them, and I love their YouTube videos. And here's the cherry on top. Want to launch this with partners? You and 2 friends could each fund your shares using a retirement accounts and jointly own a Panamanian company, avoiding US corporate tax altogether, while building a business that supports your global lifestyle. This isn't just a theory. This is a path, a smart, strategic one that almost nobody is talking about, unless you're already in the $1 million club. But you don't have to be a millionaire to do it. The structure only costs around $1,500, and a software as a service business can easily be entirely passive income, especially if someone like my team runs it for you. If we have skin in the game, it means it's just as important to us that it's successful as it is to you. Here's what I want you to remember. You don't need $1 million. You don't need a private banker. You don't need permission. You just need a plan. You need the willingness to start, and maybe you need someone to tell you that you're not crazy for wanting more than just a bigger house or a fancier car. What if more means a better view out your window? What if more means less stress, less noise, less tax? What if home isn't where you were born, but where you finally breathe? Look, I respect the firms that help millionaires make their next move. But if you're still building your wealth, you don't have to wait your turn. There are other ways. There are affordable paths. There are people like the ones I mentioned in this video who've already done it, and people like me who are helping others build the engines that make it possible. And most importantly, you don't have to be rich to feel at home somewhere else. If you want to build a software as a service business that gives you freedom, drop a comment or connect with me directly. I'm happy to point you in the right direction. Book a call with me. The link is in the description. And if you're just curious about life abroad on a real-world budget, hit that subscribe button. I share the tools, the stories, and the truth about how this all works from someone who's actually doing it. I'm Matt, the Americano, and I'll see you in the next country.